Hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss in internet shitlords, and you can see here I've got 3 products. I was gonna say lesser selling, but that's technically not true. Dark Albion is like a huge bestseller. But the Gonzo Fantasy Companion, 101 Sarmatians, and Dark Albion, none of them are core books of mine, right? They are, these are supplementary materials, right? One of them is presenting a whole bunch of mechanics that you can use in your, in any game to add Gonzo elements to it. Another one is a specific source book for Baptism of Fire that deals with the aristocracy. Dark Albion Cults of Chaos is technically for Dark Albion, but you can really use it to generate evil sects, cults, and heresies in any game. So what do they have in common? Well, what they have in common is that all 3 of them are vastly more useful than clone games. All right? And today, that is what I'm getting around to talking about. And let me give you an even better example. So this is like book 2 of Barrows and Borderlands. I reviewed book 1 previously. And I can tell you that it is, this is a fantastic game. This is a game obviously inspired by the D&D white box, right? And some of the mechanics are from there. It's an OSR product. It starts with something from the classic and derives from that point onwards. Now, it's got a lot of stuff that isn't just like the D&D white box, which makes it a million times more useful than all of the white box D&D clones that are out there in the OSR, okay? Because it's something different. So that is what actually, you know, that is what actually defines something. Now, I'm bringing all this up, why? Because lately I've seen a number of videos of people that are lamenting and tearing their hair and, you know, pulling open their shirts and smacking themselves and I don't know what else. You know, they're banging their heads on the ground. They're wailing and lamenting. There are tears and darkness throughout the land because Old School Essentials has said that their next, you know, their next iteration is going to be a mix of class and of race and class type mechanics, and it's probably not going to therefore be a clone, right? And there's people that are like horrified by this. They're horrified by this idea. You know, and first of all, acting as if Old School Essentials, OSE, which is only the latest in far too many clone books, is the defining product of the hobby or something. I don't know what these people are thinking. Right? OSE adds nothing that didn't already exist in not one but multiple other OSR products, right? Going all the way back to like Osric and, you know, stuff like Labyrinth Lord and Swords and Wizardry, right? This is it's ridiculous. People fretting about this is ridiculous. Clone books are ridiculous. They have no purpose anymore, right? Once upon a time, I will grant you, at the very beginning of the OSR, and if you don't know about this, this is going to be an important history lesson from Professor Pundit, right? At the beginning of the OSR was largely created, first and foremost, not really as a design movement at all, but as a movement to find a way to make sure that the older versions of D&D could still be played by people. Because we're talking about the early 2000s, there was no print on demand yet, right? There was a bit of, you know, online piracy going on, but those were all based on like really bad scans of very old books, right? And you could buy, in theory, on eBay maybe, you could find once in a while a rules cyclopedia or a you know, basic D&D box, or the, you know, very occasionally maybe the white box, right? But they would cost you a lot of money, right? And there were only limited supplies. It was what used to exist, right? There was Wizards of the Coast at that time was not publishing any of the old rule books. And so a group of people got together and said, well, what we need to do is you can't copyright rules. We're going to rewrite the rules, not in the sense of changing the rules, but in the sense of writing them again so that it's not a cut and paste and therefore does not violate copyright. But they're going to be the exact same rules. Right? So Osric took AD&D First Edition, rewrote it, and then published it in book format, right? And that was the purpose for it was not because we need to have an exact carbon copy of AD&D First Edition. It's because people couldn't get the AD&D First Edition books as easily anymore, right? So it was meant to be a way that you could get access to the rules without having to buy an antique, right? And they did the same thing with every old edition of D&D, and then they just kept doing it and kept doing it, and they suddenly lost the entire purpose of it. It had gone from being the original purpose, which was to make sure that this stuff could stay in print. It then switched because of some of the fandom that arrived to become a kind of cargo cult of trying to discover the purity of ancient D&D and discover the D&D, right? James Malazewski was very into this bullshit, right? And they were doing all this considering of like, what is the pure, unsullied, perfect D&D? And there were people literally saying stuff like, if you play any product of D&D that was published after 1981, then you are not a true OSR person, right? And somebody else will say, no, before 79. And someone goes, no, fuck you, before 74, right? It's like, wait, yeah. So like, they were trying to find like the sort of proto-invention, the proto-origin of D&D, which is, it's especially hilarious to me that essentially those were all like delirious fever dreams that these people were having. And only decades later, Griff Morgan actually did find the proto-D&D in his documentary Secrets of Blackmoor and in The Lost Dungeon of Tonnisburg. That is D&D, right? And it's not that it's super special for being D&D. In fact, some of the rules are kind of interesting, very different from what they turned out to be, and some of them are really, really bad, right? Like some of them are kind of okay, but you can see why they were changed too, right? So like D&D would be crap, of course, because it was like trust me, the first draft of any of my games are crap, right? I go and I add on to them, I change them around, I fix the problems, right? So you don't want the D&D. But anyways, the clones had made sense as long as that was the situation, and as long as you couldn't get the actual products. But now, Drive-Thru-RPG, Wizards of the Coast, oh, hey, look, it's Domino. Wizards of the Coast has every single D&D product, except for some reason, the Holmes Basic, I think it is. And that's the only one they don't have. But everything else they have on Drive-Thru-RPG, you can do print on demand, you can get the original products. So that means that literally every single pure clone OSR book no longer has a reason for existence. Right now, of course, some of them have gone on to make like supplemental products. They've made a lot of adventures. The adventures are fine, right? Making new adventures for D&D, that's perfectly fine, right? For classic D&D. But the idea that people would continue, like OSE started way after all this time. That you could buy every single TSR D&D set from 1974 to 19 I guess it was 89 was the second, or no, you could even get the revised second edition, how horrible as it was. You could get all of those. You could buy them all. And then Old School essentially says, well, you know what? We need another basic expert clone. No, you don't. Nobody needs a basic expert. It's already there, right? It's pointless to do. But people, for some reason, just keep jumping onto this ridiculous bandwagon. And they go, oh no, but it's the rules are much more clarified now. Well, that's what you told me the last 3 basic expert set clones, right? That's your excuse. How much more clarified can they get? If they got any more clarified, they'd be invisible at this point, right? Like there's no such thing, right? Anybody, like I I started playing D&D at 11 years old with the original Basic Expert, the Moldvay Basic Expert sets, right? And I could figure it out, prepubescent as I was, right? So what the hell do you assholes who've been playing for 40 years have a problem with being able to understand in the Basic Expert set that 11-year-old pundit could understand? Okay, it's stupid. All right, and so like there are people saying, oh well, but there's like this question of it's just unfair to the people who are already fans of old school essentials as it was that now they're going to make something different. Well, first of all, I applaud them for wanting to make something different. That's good. Now I'm a bit concerned that they might just switch it. They might be pretending they're going to do something different. They're really just switching fully from Basic Expert to AD&D, because I know they've been flirting with that either way. So, as far as I'm concerned, a pox on all their houses, right? But the thing is, if you are, I've got the solution for you, okay? If you are a guy who likes old school essentials the way it is right now, as a Basic Expert clone, essentially, if that's what you're worried about losing, I have the perfect solution. You don't have to worry. There is a game called Labyrinth Lord. It is also a Basic Expert clone, right? You can just use that. You can use that with the OSC rules. They're all goddamn compatible, right? That's the whole point of the OSR. And by the way, the whole point of the OSR now is not doing clones or playing clones. It's about making new frontiers for what Dungeons and Dragons is capable of, right? Whether it's something like Barrows and Borderlands that stays very close to the source, but makes these incredible little twists of both genre and rules that makes the game completely exciting again. Or whether it's stuff like, my Lion and Dragon or Baptism of Fire that rework the rules to fit a specific time and place, a specific setting, and a specific genre, right? And that add interesting new dimensions, a totally different magic system, stuff like that. Or whether it's just crazy stuff that you add on that you can put together. And all of it is compatible. All of it, okay? So what are you complaining about, right? Like what you could use any rule set to run your OSE stuff. Right? It is stupid, right? This is stupid fanboyism of people who don't seem to understand either what the purpose of clones were to begin with, which has been completely lost now, as I said, or they don't understand what the OSR is now, because as of the second wave, the OSR is not about just mindlessly repeating the past over and over again in products that are essentially identical apart from the art. No, the OSR is about people coming up with creative new things that change the base rules of D&D, but maintain compatibility with every other OSR product. Which means that you can mix up everything. You want to put, gonzo mutants and intelligent animals in early medieval Poland, go for it, right? But not just that, you could take the magic system from Barrows and Borderlands and put it in 101 Sarmatians. Right? You could put it in medieval Poland if you want to. That's the whole point. That's the point of the OSR. It is to push at the frontiers of what the D&D system can accomplish. And so far, I have yet to find a lot of stuff that it can't. There is a few things, but not a lot. You have to go up to like a really high power level, or you have to get into like some kind of really weird theme for it to not really function as OSR. And second, it's for people to be able to have a whole bunch of different products, but that they do not have to then choose, do I play this or do I play that, right? Except in the sense of which one they kind of like more, but in terms of what books will I end up being able to use, because you could use any of the books, right? In theory, you could run any product of OSR and get any other person, like something done by a totally different person, totally different publishing company, but it's OSR. And if it's really OSR, then you should be able to open it up and almost instantly be able to use it in the game you are currently playing that is also OSR. That's the point of the OSR, okay? So it's very silly. This whole thing about OSE is just ridiculous. OSE shouldn't have existed. I mean, I'm sorry, but it served no purpose. They would just did a clone of something that had already been cloned like 3 times. And I get that, okay, you could say, well, it had nice art. Yeah, okay, that's fine. But this is really like the equivalent. You know how I make fun of the people who anything Wizards of the Coast puts out, they must buy? Well, there's a type of OSR person that any clone book that comes out, they have to buy. Because just in case that maybe there'll be like a paragraph on page 72 where they'll have written a slightly clearer version for your eyes of the encumbrance rules from D&D Mold Vase set originally. And so that'll be worth it. That'll be worth the $50 to have a book that is exactly the same set of rules as the other 8 books you've just bought. Right, I guess that's fine. Right? So anyway, I'm starting to sound, I think, a little bit like Matt Walsh here. So that is why today, Old School Essentials and everybody who bought it is canceled. All right. I guess that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I was actually going to start this video as making a comparison between why is it that basic expert rules tend to be the ones that are the foundation for most OSR products instead of AD&D. I am going to do that. I'm going to do it at some point. But I guess not this time, because this quickly, like I was going to do that, but then, you know, it got me to thinking about Old School Essentials, got me to being pissed off about the drama that is just ridiculous, non-existent. Like, why is it a drama? You can still have, even if you just want to keep playing OSE because for some reason you think it's different from every other book, which it is not. Certainly not different from any other basic expert clone, right? But let's say you want it for whatever reason. You still have the book, right? It doesn't matter. And it's not like they were ever going to change it in another way besides this one because otherwise it wouldn't be a clone, right? If they had changed it at some other point, it would have been a different kind of game anyway, too, right? It just drives me nuts. It drives me nuts that there are still people today that will spend money to get themselves a clone game. It's stupid. Look at this. Even Domino is becoming aggressive about it. She thinks my hand is Old School Essentials. Silly cat. All right. So that's basically everything I wanted to say today. Don't buy clones, right? Why are you doing that? I mean, if you don't have any D&D rule books, any old school D&D, that's fine. Okay, so you don't own like the rules encyclopedia. Okay, well, buy Labyrinth Board. Okay, if you want to have those set of rules. Hey, Domino, watch that tail of yours. If you want to have those rules, right? You can go and you buy that once, but don't keep buying that shit, right? Like look for there's an incredible spectrum of massive creativity in OSR products, right? Stuff, never mind just my stuff, right? Never mind, like the Last Vikings and stuff like that, and the Gonzo Fantasy Companion, which are like both of them, I assure you could use in your Old School Essentials game if that's what you want. But like, all this unbelievable innovative stuff that the Red Room store has done. There's a new edition of Yoon Soo In out. I don't know about if the guy who wrote it likes me, but it is genius. So, I have to say it. Even my buddy Venger is about to start a new book, a Chalt book. He's doing a Kickstarter, so you guys should check it out if you like Chalt, right? If you don't like Chalt, you probably shouldn't. But if you like Chalt, or if you don't know if you're going to like Chalt or not, you might want to check it out. And it's apparently going to be like a bunch of random generators, which I find very interesting. I'm very, very curious to see how that goes. Because as you guys might know from my reviews of Venture's products, I do not have a high opinion of his ability to make random generators, right? But maybe he's been like boning up. He hasn't done this for quite a while. Maybe he's been like really practicing, honing his craft. Maybe he's been studying, Cults of Chaos, which is probably one of the greatest random table generators in the hobby at this point. Maybe. But I don't know, right? But anyway, still check it out, because even if he does make shitty tables, his products are like, his products are extremely fun, and they're way different, right? They're like a total totally different thing that you're never going to see someone else be able to do the same thing as he does. He is unique. He's God's own or mutant, you know, like and that's the same with many of these products, right? So don't limit yourself to just repeating. It's somebody, if somebody went on a date when they were 15 and then for the rest of their lives, they're always just trying to recreate that date, right? And because of that, they never get anywhere, right? They stop. Like it's arrested development, right? You are frozen in the nonsense of thinking that no, it has to be just like it was in the good old days, and so you miss everything else. You know, and it's not like I'm asking you to like go play like some kind of charades-based story game or something. No, I'm telling you, play with the newer ideas that are in the OSR themselves, that are still D&D, you know? And you're gonna find a wealth of stuff that'll blow your mind. And there's tons of stuff there that'll blow your mind much more than anybody could possibly have their mind blown by old school essentials, all right? So that's everything for today. If you like this video, hit like, share it anywhere you think people will find it interesting, including where people will be pissed off, and I'm sure I'm gonna have a whole bunch of OSE tards that are going to be pissed off about this. As for OSE itself, I mean, fine by me. I mean, if I was looking at it from the point of view of business, I'd say this is probably not a good idea for them, because the entire point of clones is we never change. We must not change. We must go back. We must be exactly like we were in the golden age, right? And so if you change, that's the one thing that your entire audience doesn't want you to do. You're not supposed to change. If they really wanted to do an AD&D clone, they should have picked a different name and made an AD&D clone with that. So then you have both, right? You could do that. But to change the name, to take the name Old School Essentials and take it away from these obsessive maniacs that just want to play what was played in the golden age, right? Then you're asking for a rebellion, you know. So you were not very smart, okay, the guys that did OSE. So share the video anywhere you think you might find it interesting, or someone might find it interesting, and check out all of my products. I guarantee you, not one of my products is a clone of anything, right? It's all innovative stuff. It's stuff you're not going to find anywhere else. It's got fantasy, we've got sci-fi, we've got modern horror, we've got a ton of historical authentic material, and there's more coming always. And like in the Red Room store, where I've got the Pundit Files, I know that the latest Pundit Files is unbelievably behind. It's like we're 3 Pundit Files behind now, and I have no excuse, and I'm very sorry about it, right? We've been having some issues, but it is going to come out. I mean, part of it is because I'm working on Sons of Heaven for my part, but that's not really an excuse. But you can check out the Red Room store. All of the Pundit Files are there. You can get any one of them for just $3.50. Each one of them is a source book of something OSR, and it'll, you know, sometimes it's a setting, the location. Sometimes it's an adventure. Sometimes it's a supplement dealing with some issue of some kind, you know. So, like, even there, for $3.50, you can get something new in the OSR that you can use with everything old in the USR. In the OSR, sorry. So try that. Try that for a change, okay? Anyways, that's it for me. Currently smoking. This is what is this? A Lorenzetti poker. Hey, will you quit biting? Look at this. Look at this misbehavior. Okay, there, that's a good girl. Now she's being cuddly. She realized her error of biting me on camera. She's worried she's going to get canceled. All right, sorry. A Lorenzetti poker. Oh, you're doing it again. Oh, no. Oh, no. All right, never mind. Lorenzetti poker plus Argento root.